Hello and welcome to Take Back Time. My name is Penny Zenker and I'm your host. And I want to welcome back today my dear friend, Dr. Thomas Duncan. He's amazing. He's funny. He's smart. He's got some incredible programs. And I know that you're going to learn on top of what you might have heard in the last episode. So Dr. Thomas Duncan, he's a family physician who practices functional and integrative medicine
Same thing.
in Olympia, Washington. And additionally, he's a master NLP practitioner. So that is a neuro-linguistic neurostrategies and neuro-linguistics. So, and we started this journey together. So that's why we have been friends, close friends for so many years, I think 11 years now. So Tom, welcome to my show here.
Awesome, Penny. Thank you so much for having me. And again, as I mentioned in the other podcast, is just how inspirational you've been, and just the message and the clarity around the productivity and, the focusology and the reset moments. It is so fun to follow you because, I actually learn a lot on a daily basis and apply that. So I'm just grateful for the synergy that we're able to create on every time we're able to connect.
Oh, go on. No, really,
Okay.
Go
Okay,
on. No,
just
kidding.
Yeah, we had, before we get started, we actually had a tragedy up here. We actually had a gentleman try to burn down one of our trash barrels.
No way.
Yeah, so he was throwing gas on it, trying to get it on fire, and he got his sleeve on fire, and he's running through the parking lot, waving his arms on fire. Luckily, they were able to tackle him and put it out, and they arrested him, of course. You know what the charges were?
What?
Waving a firearm.
But
Yeah, I'll be here all week. Don't forget to tip your waitress.
I told you guys, this guy is pretty funny. He always has something funny, but he did agree to keep it clean today. So don't worry.
Yep.
We're going to keep it on the up and up.
As always.
Well, that's a perfect intro to what we're going to talk about, which is mood. Right. Like humor is a great way to lift one's mood, right? So I know that I've fallen back on humor, even in the most difficult times. And, how do we do that? How do we control our mood and find the humor in a hard situation? Or, how do we control that? Because it's everything, right? Our mood is everything.
Yeah, great question, Penny. When I was struggling with being sick and tired, the first thing I had to realize that I actually had a choice. I didn't have to let the circumstances of my life dictate how I felt. I actually had a superpower, and that superpower was choice. I could choose how I could feel. And that was the whole premise behind everything, because I go, you know what? When we talk about, applying that new identity, what's more important, though, is if you're in a better mood, right, you're going to make better decisions. And
totally.
When you make better decisions, thank you, Doc Obvious, you're going to have better outcomes.
Right? Is that where you got your Doc Obvious degree there?
It was actually the Wheaties box tops. I sent them in, and you get a couple million, and they just send it to you. Because nice. I went to the University of Arkansas for medical sciences. It seems like tragedy follows me everywhere I go. When I was there at school, our medical library burned down. Yep, both books burned. And but Marvel Comics said they replace them for free. But anyway, moving right along.
That's awesome. So we do have a superpower for choice, and we do forget, especially in those moments where we feel, victimized, right, to what's going on around us, and then we just perpetuate that by blaming, complaining, and not recognizing that we have a choice.
That's 100% true, Penny. And once we realize that when we can, we call it living at choice. I call it living at choice versus living at circumstances. We cannot control our circumstances. However, we can choose the meaning of that. And that's what I mean by the power of choice. And part of that, choosing the meaning, we can choose our mood. And I talk about the 3 steps, or the 3 things to I call it the 3 pat process. It's kind of like before I leave to go out, I pat my front pocket, keys, phone, wallet, or as my wife Christy goes, it's her purse, it's her sunglasses and her coffee, right? And
The three pat process. All right. I was
that
wondering what
process,
those pats were.
yeah.
But
So
maybe you were Irish, and so you had to check
right,
the three pats in your family or something.
that's exactly it. Yeah, I'm patenting that as we speak right now.
So tell us,
I
so
like to
what is that?
punish
So
people.
what are those three pats?
Yeah, the three packs. So because again, if you can control your mood, you can make better decisions, better outcomes. The first thing, and it's all about energy. So if you are feeling tired, think about it when you've had a bad outcome, is when you're run down on energy. So number one's energy. We'll go into more depth about that because that's most important. Number two, what are you paying attention to? What are your focus on? Tony Robbins always talks about where focus goes, energy flows. And then what's your self-talk? What's going on there? And so that's probably the three steps. If you can take that three pat and go, okay, what's my energy? Check in, and we'll talk about some simple steps to change your energy in the moment. And then, hey, what am I paying attention to? Am I focusing on things that are going great, or am I telling myself a story from the past that's keeping me stuck? And then the last one is, what's my self-talk? Am I lifting myself up, or am I talking down to myself? Yeah, exactly. And so those are the three steps when you find yourself not in a good mood, how to make that good, healthy shift, so to speak.
Healthy shift. I could
Shift.
go take a healthy shift right now, but I'm on the show here. So people don't even know me like this, right? It's like when we do this funny banter, right? This is new to the show. I apologize if this is insulting to anybody who's listening. But coming back to your three pats, I think it comes back to also your simple things better.
Absolutely.
Right? That's you introduced that in the first episode that we did together to talk about simple things better. And they seem like, to me, people might be like, yeah, oh, there goes Captain Obvious again, right?
Right.
But we don't do what we know. And so if we could just do these simple things better, that's amazing, right? If we know how to control our mood, and we recognize that we have a choice, then that's all for me. I'm going to put it into my language, right? These are things that can happen in that reset moment.
Ooh, I
that
like
you
it.
stop and you do the three pats. So you say, okay, I'm not getting the outcome that I want right now. So what kind of energy am I bringing? What am I paying attention to? And what am I saying to myself that might be creating me to get away from the result that I'm looking for?
100%, Penny Girl. That I'm just so excited for your new book that's going to be coming out, because I think that's going to be so impactful, and I'm really looking forward to it. And when we talk about the first step, of changing your mood, is changing your energy. The three things that I talk about is, number one, breathe. Okay, if you find yourself tired, just breathe. I do Wim Hof breathing every morning. I find that it energizes me, it charges me, but sometimes, you just don't have that time. So if you can do that 4 square breathing, inhale for 4, pause for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4, and just, and because it's hard to do Wim Hof breathing when you're standing in line in the at the checkout, but you can do the 4 square breathing anywhere.
Yeah, in the
Anywhere.
car, in waiting in line.
Exactly.
Totally.
So it's a little more transferable. So because you don't want to be doing the Wim Hof breathing in, when you're operating motor vehicle and water, those type of things. And then
Well, box breathing is used in the military for them to get control of, their emotions and just get grounded. So, I mean, hey, if they can use it and it's going to help them in a critical situation, we can all use it.
yeah, it's absolutely true. And number 2, simple, is drink water. If you feel like your battery, because what I see is we check our phone battery more often than we check in with ourselves to see how we are.
Totally.
Are we redlining right now? So do we need to plug in and charge up? And so the biggest thing with that is breathe. But then we think, oh, I need to eat something. No, more importantly, we need to drink water. Yes. Yeah, there you go. Good call, Penny. And drink water. And then the last thing is to get up and move. If possible, get up and move around, go for a walk, take 5 minutes just to recharge your batteries. And if you're in a meeting somewhere or someplace you can't go and you need to recharge, you can go on a 30-second trip to your favorite place. I go in the sand in the surf in Cabo and just sit there, and I can just picture that wind and the breeze and just be in that moment. And that helps me recharge mentally if I'm stuck where I can't get out and about and walk around. So 3 steps: breathe, water, get up and move. If you can't move physically, move mentally. As my good friend Jim Brown would say, Tommy, you don't have roots. You can get up and move. You're not a tree.
I love that one. I'm going to write that down. He's great.
Oh my gosh. Guardian.
I'm waiting for the book to come out with the Jim Brownisms. So, and I had Jim Brown many early on in my podcast. I had him on the show. So I think I'm going to bring that episode back up and bring it onto the podcast, because it was on my older podcast. So thanks for that reminder, because that was a great episode.
Well, and on Duncan Integrative Medicine, where I do the pep talk from the plunge, I've been doing a lot of shout outs to Jim, because, a couple of them have been, Tommy, even though, I'm Dr. Thomas Duncan, I'm still Tommy. And so I love that. And because doctor is what I do, it's not who I am. And so he goes, Tommy, if you're going to be a bear, be a grizzly bear. I've heard that from the time I was 16, so I did a pep talk on that. And then one of my other favorites that he always says, or there's 2 of them. One is, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. And then the last one, and most important, is there's no external solution to an internal problem.
Absolutely. Those are great. And I've heard some of the other ones, which are also pretty great. But I guess that's a good time to come into the attention.
Right.
Because, some of those are also about where we're putting our attention, right? So that last one that you mentioned, you can't find an external internal solution
to an internal problem.
Right. So, that's also about attention and what we focus on. So let's just give us a couple of quick tips around that. How do we control our attention when, emotions are high and our intellect is low?
Is understand that we are just basically a walking antenna. Okay. We are getting bombarded with stimuli. Yep. And so we have the superpower of choice, what we can tune into. So we can tune into what's going right and positive, or we can go negative and tune into what's going negative, because it's all about the environment, what we're creating within us and what we're creating outside of us. So again, what we're focusing on or what we're paying attention to is, again, the power of choice. You recognize that, okay, there's something that's challenging going on. You recognize, remember, we talked about in the previous episode, there's no failure, there's only feedback. So then you learn the lesson, and then you focus on what we learned from that and apply it. So you're focusing on what could go right, because again, we talked about this in neuro-linguistics, where focus goes, energy flows, because how our mind works real quick is, you ever gotten a new car, you've never seen it before, but once you buy that, Toyota, Chevy, Ford, whatever it may be, Tesla, you go, oh, there's one there, there's one there, there's one there. And then on the flip side is, whatever you do, don't think of a pink elephant. So whatever you are paying attention to, the part of your brain called the reticular activating system is going to bring that to your attention and bring more of that to you, and not only visually, but also energetically. Again, we're all connected. We talk about the quantum entanglement, fancy words, yada, yada. Bottom line is, whatever you put out to the universe, you're going to get back, because there is a frequency of energy. So whatever you're paying attention to, you're going to get more of that in your life. So if you're focused on what's going right and what you're trying to accomplish, etc., you're going to bring that. Versus, how many of you may have seen some people that may just kind of have a little dark cloud right over their shoulder, and that are focusing on the negative, the drama, and their problems? Because that's the whole thing, is you want to be focused on the solutions, right? We talked about solution-oriented questions. How can I fix this? How can I move forward? Versus the why questions. Why does this always happen to me? Why do I feel bad, etc.? So again, where focus goes, energy flows. We're antennas. We have the power of choice to tune into what's going right, and we'll draw even more of that to us. Otherwise, if I call them ants, Penny, those automatic negative thoughts, we talked about that for a long time.
Yeah.
Just like growing tomatoes, You don't plan them, they just show up, and those automatic negative thoughts are there to keep us alive, not happy. And so you just recognize that, hey, that's just part of the process. Invite them to go, oh, I understand that you're trying to keep me alive, keep me from being humiliated or failure, whatever it may be, to try to protect us. But again, you recognize it. Don't, what you do is you dance with it, learn it, and then what can you apply going forward? So again, what are you paying attention to? Superpower choice. And it's about our environment. What's really important is, what are you consuming? That's the thing I talk about in my online programs. What is it that you're consuming? Social media, news, etc. If you're being bombarded by negativity, guess what? That's going to turn on those genes within your body, and it creates a chemical and a biochemical signal, electromagnetic signal within you. And that's how people end up with chronic diseases. Okay, diabetes, heart disease, Alzheimer's disease, all these things. And that's why I'm so impassionate when I'm talking to people, is that whatever you're focusing on, it's going to create health within your body. And so, just like junk food, if you're thinking bad thoughts, it's not going to serve you. The same thing if you're focusing on what's positive, that's a good whole foods, healthy foods, that's going to help you create that health and vitality. Because again, what I promote and I push really hard is, if you have your health, you have your vitality, you have your freedom to live life on your terms.
Yeah. It's a shame. It's like the first thing that we sacrifice, right? I'll sleep when I'm dead, or, I'll just eat this because it feels good now, or it's easily accessible, that we don't put our health first.
Right.
And we don't realize, many people don't realize that our thinking, that stinking thinking, that it impacts our body. It actually, impacts what we choose to eat and how we choose to take care of ourselves. Right. So,
Right.
So it's critical. And I think that definitely people should be checking out. I know you have an online program that will take people through these different steps of how to use your mood to get better outcomes, and and all the things that we're talking about today, how to get out of that sick and tired place, right? Sick and tired of being sick and tired is the book that's coming out.
Yes. And, again, when we're talking about energy, I was talking about short-term, in the moment energy. Long-term energy is about sustainability with healthy lifestyle, healthy eating, and exercise. So you look at the sustainability, that's part of the biostrategies that I have in my book, my online program. If you want to live longer, sleep longer, exercise, nutrition, you can't make chicken salad out of chicken doo-doo. And so, long-term strategies is, that's more of the bio strategies behind sleep, nutrition, exercise, that plays a role in that short-term energy. How do you change it quickly? And then we talked about, attention. And then the last one is our self-talk. And there was a study done at Harvard, and it was in Trevor Mohad's book. He was Russell Wilson's psychological coach. He wrote a book, and he talked about this Harvard study. It was really amazing that negative thoughts are 7 to 9 times, or 7 to 10, or 4 to 7 times more powerful than positive thoughts. And then when spoken out loud, it's 10 times on top of that. So
Wow.
Negativity, when spoken out loud, is 40 to 70 times more powerful. And so that's why you take a look at what's going on in our country. That's why negativity sells. You see nothing, if it bleeds, it leads. That's why, because it's that much more powerful. And so when they ask me, Tom, what's the one thing, and this is the one take-home message I have for your audience, Penny, what's the one thing that can do about their self-talk? Is stop complaining. You stop complaining.
Well, that really annoys me, Tom.
Well, you should, because it goes against all your demons. It's just releasing them, Penny. The biggest thing is just stop complaining, because when you speak that out loud, guess what you're bringing to you? That's the pink elephant that I was talking about. Right. You're just going to attract more of that.
That's really interesting, especially to hear it in, that studies have been done to show that the one thing is the thinking, but once we think something, right, we don't recognize, but it comes out in the words that we use and the way that we show up. And we don't make that connection. We're like, oh, I don't think that way, or that's not who I am or how I am. But we have to really pay attention goes back to like these three things are intertwined, right? The energy, the attention, and the self-talk. When you really pay attention to the words that you're using, right, then you start to wake up to it, to see, wow, I could see why more negativity is coming towards me, or why I'm not able to get unstuck, or why other people are reacting in the way that they are to me. I'm not getting my results. So we have to really listen, because I've noticed actually in the last couple of months, I've noticed that some negative things slipped into like some words that I'm saying, not full negativity. That's not who I am, but I'm paying attention and I'm noticing, hey, I am feeling a little stressed. And then I hear some of these automatic negative thoughts, and that's good, right? It's okay. I don't want people to think that you got to be positive all the time. And this is not about being positive all the time. This is about paying attention and choosing how we want to live our lives and the results that we want to get in our lives. And I think a lot of people with this toxic positivity,
Right.
I think it's important that we make a distinction between that. We're not saying you have to be happy and in a good mood all the time. Is that what you're saying?
No, not at all.
Right. It's just that we're paying attention and activating the actual choice that we have.
100%, Penny. And we talked about it. And there's a good friend of mine. Her name is Penny Zenker. That I
Tell me
borrowed
what
this.
she has to say.
Yeah, that I borrowed an acronym from. It's called
Oh.
RISE. That I actually have people do, as an exercise that I have people do, is just have a conversation and notice what words that you're using. For instance, I used to say to my son Hayden when he was young, I go, Hayden, that makes me angry that you would do that. And then instead of saying that, I go, oh, what would be a better word? So I started, saying curious. And so that rises, I would recognize my pattern, okay, that I would say that, I would interrupt it, and then I would swap or switch. Instead of saying angry, I would say curious. And then I would exercise it. And this is one of the things in my program that I really emphasize is the power of visualizations. In order to build habits, there's not enough time in the day to really focus on doing the work over and over. And so one of the shortcuts that I have people do is visualize that process as they're going to bed, because guess what? That unconscious programming is going to be going on throughout the night. So with neurons that fire together, they wire together. And so that's how I went from from just learning how to drive a car on the track, a race car, to 18 months later being in the advanced group and an instructor, is because I would visualize that process. And so that wiring went deeper and faster. And again, the more emotion that you put with that, that's like lifting weights. If you lift 2 pounds, you're not going to build much muscle. But if you're lifting 30, 40 pounds, you're going to really reinforce that. You're going to build muscle even faster. Same thing with emotion. When you do these things with emotion, you're going to build those pathways better. And the other technique that I use, Penny, if we have a moment, is the power of confirmations versus affirmations. Affirmations is just already, you're just affirming within yourself, you're affirming something positive. Confirmation is letting you know it's already within yourself. You're just confirming what you already know. So, you don't call the hotel and affirm your reservation. No, you confirm what you already know. And then you can practice those. Remember, we talked about in the last episode, the steps of transformation is: number one, you got to think it. Number two, you got to believe it. Number three, you got to speak it into existence. And four, you got to take action. And sometimes what happens, we get into the think it and believe it and not really, we kind of get in that cycle. But by taking action in the moment, what that does, you don't have to think. Then it just drives things and moving forward. And what I tell guys, or anyone actually, is that if you want to transform your health, work on transforming your body, just doing simple workouts, doing the simple things better. Just, go for a walk for 5 minutes, lift, do one set of just 3 simple exercises, because if you can move, you get that momentum, you can just carry that on, make that small incremental changes over time. We call it STB, simple things better.
STB. I want to come back to the power of confirmation. So what does that look like in terms of what I might say that's different from an affirmation to a confirmation?
There's not too much different. I just like it because it's kind of pre-framing the process. It's very similar. It's like,
Gotcha.
I am a healer. Tony Robbins, we talk about those affirmation, so it's like, I am enough. I am powerful. I am a believer. One of the confirmations that I say to myself, I cannot, control what happens to me, but I can control what it means. Those, I may not know
Gotcha.
all the answers, but I know that I've been able to figure things out before, and I can continue to find solutions no matter what comes up. I'm able to find an empowering meaning behind what is happening to me. So those are the confirmations that I use. And I have a couple books that I really listen to that she is amazing. Manifest Now is the one of her books, and the other book is Inner Glimpse. And so I listen to that on my audiobook when I'm working out, because it just takes you through that process of building that mental muscle of your confirmation process. And it's beautiful. She's articulate. I just really love it. I go to the psychological gymnasium. It's part of what I do on a daily basis, from Wim Hof breathing, cold plunges, red light therapy, nutrition, my confirmation process, my manifestation process. It's all part of my morning routines to control my mood. Because again, if I'm controlling my mood, I'm controlling my destiny.
Absolutely. I love it. Love it. And of course, I love you. I want to come back just on that confirmation piece, because I want to make sure that people get this. So, because I'm a word geek and you clearly are a word geek as well, because words matter and they have energy, they have intensity, and they have direction. So when we go into these statements and we recognize them as confirmations, it lands differently than if we were to use it and recognize it as an affirmation. So it lands differently when we call it a confirmation, because we recognize deep down in our unconscious that we are confirming what is already true, right? So I want to just make sure that people understand that. So what you clarified is what you're saying isn't different. It's what you believe it to be that's different. And I want people to understand that, because I think it's super, super powerful. And it's a really easy thing. Out of all the great things that you've talked about, it's also a very, very simple thing to do every morning when you wake up, and maybe at lunch, or maybe add it to when you go to bed, right? If you just have a couple of confirmations that help you reaffirm your identity and how you want to show up and who you are, that can make all the difference, right? That can be the shift in energy. That can be that reset moment that happens and has you enter into the experience you're going into in the way that you want to, so that you're going to have the experience you want versus the experience that could have been if you weren't intentional and purposeful about it.
Absolutely. And one of my patients has a great idea that she does for her confirmation. She makes it her passwords for her computer.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah. And so, she'll put, I am a rock star, or I am enough, or whatever it may be. So she makes her passwords her confirmations.
Love it. Well, that's a great place for us to end this show right now. So tell people where they can reach you and where they can find your online program.
Oh, thank you again, Penny. How much fun is this?
That's great.
Yeah. So you can find me on duncanintegrativemedicine.com, and there's online program. Take a look at that. Again, what we're talking about is doing the simple things better, small incremental changes over time. Because again, what my role is, my purpose and passion is to inspire, empower individuals to break the chains of limiting beliefs so they can unlock their true potential and live a life of their dreams. Because if you have your health and vitality, you have your freedom to live life on your terms.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Tom.
My pleasure. Thank you, Penny Girl.
And for all of you who are listening, another great episode with Dr. Thomas Duncan. He's got a world of great nuggets, but what I love about it is, yes, he's a medical doctor and he's coming from all of that incredible knowledge from the medical field, but he's also very much into the psychology from neuro-linguistics and more. Well, he talked about it, integrative medicine, more holistic, and he's very down to earth, right? You can hear the words that he's using. These are things that he's helped to make it simple and helped to really make those simple things better. So please go check it out, his work, be on the lookout for his new book. And thank you so much for being here. Remember to confirm and make those confirmations for yourself, morning, noon, and night. My name is Penny Zenker, and this is Take Back Time. We'll see you in the next episode.